So obviously you guys know the format as of late. We talk about some of your comments at the start of an episode. We, have the back and forth with it. It is what it is. I love the format. Not doing it this episode. I am looking at the comments though, and if I see something that I want to respond to, cool. But as far as taking a shortcut in the editing process, because it's late, I'm tired, I want to go to bed, Tired 24 is here, and I want to take a shortcut in the editing process, how little of an editing process it is, I still want to take a shortcut to make sure I get these videos out to you today. So, let me double check here, because the majority of the comments, of course, have been in reference towards what we should do with the team, whether or not someone like Ivanov should be on the way out. Although I will say, Noel Guzman mentioned the money situation. For those of you who are not, of course, familiar with it, I guess, or in case you've forgotten, a lot of these contracts are poor because if you are under the salary cap, the game will auto-adjust contracts for you. So taking a look at one of the more egregious contracts, I would say that is Colin Richter. We did not sign Colin Richter to a $9 million contract, nor did we sign Moroz to that type of money either. But we were so far underneath the cap that it auto-adjusted contracts, therefore Richter's got bumped up. That is why I normally sign a veteran to a $20 million contract if we need to do so. So again, for those of you who didn't quite remember that deal, that was it. Again, a lot of the other comments, though, in fairness, were in reference to what we should do with the team. And flat out, we have a move to make at the start of this episode. It's fairly straightforward. Colin Richter's time on this team is done. He's just not a good enough defenseman for the NHL level, despite being an 83 and a former first-round pick. The offensive side of his game never developed. He's a better version of Eric Goodbranson, but barely, is how I'm going to equate it. We have some other defensemen that look promising, that deserve that ice time. So unfortunately, Colin Richter is going to be moving on from the club, something I don't want to do, but something that has to be done. So we're going to take a look. Hopefully we can send him to an Eastern Conference team like Boston that's actually interested in him. Again, 7th round pick for 7th round pick. We do not get anything back for Richter. It's just dumping him as if we left him to free agency. So let's see if the Bruins accept it. They do, despite the cap hit. Colin Richter, we'll see you later. That brings me to what the team is in this episode, as of course we are looking to get back into the postseason. Not only that, we're looking to get back into the playoffs to make something of ourselves. Like we're not going into the season thinking, oh, I'd be sure it would be great if we made it into the playoffs. No. We want to make it into the playoffs and, be impressive while doing it. This is how the team is going to shape up to begin the season. We have Ben McCauley on the top line with Sergei Ivanov, who is staying for now, and Steven Moroz, who we are expecting a big season out of. Ralph Ricci makes the jump from the 4th line to the 2nd line. He will be on that 2nd unit with Kim Nylander and with Jean-Francois Nylander having been moved over to center. Bit of a dangerous move having Ricci at power forward, but I'm intrigued to see what he can do. 3rd line, they had to stay together after the success that they had last year. Tomas Nylander, Henry Yang, and Brian Bourreau. 4th line, one of the new call-ups, Ross Marlowe, is with Angelo Bachman, perhaps controversially, on the 4th line, but I want to start him off there to see how he does. Keith Hartnell, the other call-up, now on this team. Which means down in the AHL, we do have a ton of depth. Guys like Sarno, Clements, Kretschmann, Svoboda, Melnick, Garnett, and McAmmond. That North Bay team should be tremendous. And if anybody struggles, we have call-up options. Defensively, with the move out, this is what it's shaping up to be. Shattenkirk and Zieler, McPherson with Francois. Again, getting a look at Shattenkirk, the fact he was a 7th round pick is crazy. Andrew Zieler, still here at 31. Larry McPherson, his development out of nowhere has been such a help to this team. Rene Francois, very intrigued to see what he can do. Andre Kolosov and Landon McCult also getting the opportunity. We need McCult to develop. We have been so bad in the 2nd round. The goaltenders, of course, Torsten Mean, Gene Okerlund, with Jared Van Allen. So down in the AHL, of course, we have Mateo Fox and Gregory Konowalchuk. And amongst the defensemen, we still have Vorobiev and Ling, who are pushing for NHL spots. A lot of different combinations in terms of who could be called up, just in general, the line combinations, as well as the, the player types, the personnel, the line combos. There's just so much that goes into it, and it's whether or not we've found that right combination. I don't know if we have. There are certainly moves that can be made, adjustments that can be made throughout the season, and odds are there will have to be moves made. Whether or not someone's underperforming due to ice time, the line combinations, the player type, all of that is a major factor. But this is the 2035-36 season. We are so far into this run, but we are right where we want to be, where we went from things looking pretty damn bleak to now we're right back into that contention spot. The team's still looking good. We still have players developing. It's just whether or not the squad as we know it at this exact moment is good enough to get the job done. So let's find out. Again, interesting move on my part. I know to have someone like Bachman on the fourth line, but I want to give certain people an opportunity. Guys like Ben McCauley, who had 50 points last year, I want to give him a chance to prove that he deserves to be in that top six as we do win the opening game of our season. This seems to be stemming very, very slowly. At least it took forever to get to the start of the regular season. It's all about adjustments at the right time and making the right adjustments for that matter. Very anxious to see how the season goes. Will we see another 40-point effort from that third line? Will we see somebody like Steven Moreau continue to score 30, 40 goals like we know he's capable of doing? Will we see Torsten Åkerlund step up? What about the two new boys on defense? Hell, McPherson is a rookie, but he's a bit more of a high-powered rookie, we'd say, at an 83 overall. So many question marks, but as we've talked about over the past few seasons, there's the right question marks, the good question marks, like this team has right now, and then there was the just spinning in a circle, where the hell are we going type of question marks before we made those big moves, getting rid of Dylan Redden and everybody else like that. So I'm excited for the season. Through the opening month, both teams with an identical 7-2-1 record, which is very promising. I did notice that we have a pro scout, by the way. I had a feeling, as Ben McCauley, well done. I had a feeling I forgot to change a scout over. I actually hesitated for a little bit on the main menu. I'm like, did I forget to switch someone? Turns out I did. So taking a look at who we have here, we do need another scout in the W. And I don't know necessarily if we need a scout in the EBEL. We can have one there. It's not a major deal. Or we can have an extra scout in Liga. I think I'm going to move Tatar over to Liga. We'll have an extra scout there. It's a bit more of an important area. If we see that there is a player in the EBEL, we'll move him back over. So I'll have to pay attention to that. And I don't know if Weller's good to scout the WHL, but guess what? You are damn well going to learn that's where you're going. So have fun in the likes of Calgary and Brandon and Medicine Hat, all the great Canadian cities. So Ben McCauley, talking about whether or not he is the right guy for the job, he is currently leading this team in points. I mean, not bad. 12 points in 10 games, 9 points in 10 games for Ivanov, and Steven Moreau is doing well. Thank God. You have no idea how tempted I was to bump Ivanov to the third or fourth line. That top line's delivering. Second line, 8 points for Ricci, 10 for Nylander, 8 for Francois. These combinations are paying off. That third line, though, hasn't exactly rekindled the magic that they had last year, and the fourth line also struggling. So that is our opening to make changes if we wanted to, with the team struggling through 10 games. The easy decision here, bumping down Nylander. The easy decision. I mean, it's him or Boro. You could argue at 24 that Nylander's the guy to bump down. Boro's more interesting in that, he's got that playmaking ability, could be switched to a power forward. Yang as a sniper. Bachman currently set up as a playmaker. So I think that's a fairly easy decision. Let's go ahead and do that. Bachman is technically a better center. I'm going to have Bachman play center on that line, and we'll have Marleau, Nylander, and Hartnell with Marleau at center. So we'll handle it that way. Bachman now with Yang and Boro on that third line. Defensively, Shattenkirk, not terrible. Zieler doing what he does, a -2 on the season. McPherson, 7 points and a +10. Jesus, McPherson and Francois. What a pairing. Kolosov and McCult, not exactly killing it thus far, but we'll leave them be for now. Van Allen, struggling as a backup, but Torsten Åkerlund, oh my God, Mean Gene himself is dominating this season. That is the type of effort that we need. So with those minor adjustments, let's move on through the next month. Again, both teams with that identical record. A very strong start overall. Things can change at a moment's notice, but fingers crossed things continue to go well for us. It is a fairly busy month. We don't have a single Monday off for the next 5 weeks at the very least. So no rest anytime soon as we drop a game to Buffalo 7-2. North Bay still looking pretty good, though. One has to wonder as well what the backup goaltending situation would be. That's not something that I planned on having to think about. I was hoping that Van Allen would be the guy no matter what. Obviously, Fox and Konowalchuk both getting there. Odds are Konowalchuk will end up being the backup next season, if not the season after. But it's just a matter of wait and see. But it's the good type of anxiousness. I'm so excited for this squad. Just nervous and anxious to see how things are going to play out this year. We're up to 12-4-3 on the season. Big win there against Tampa. 6-goal effort from the boys. Come on now. I'm just hoping that when we check, I mean, not only that the record's strong, but when we check how things have been going, stat-wise, people are playing to the best of their ability. It's going to be a good year for rookies. That's good to know. Hopefully we can do some damage in those later rounds as we have been doing throughout this entire series. We have dropped 3 out of 4, make that 3 straight, and now 4 out of 5. 12-6-4. We need a big win or 2 here against Nashville and or Detroit to end the month. We lose to Nashville as well. That's 4 straight losses. A loss against Detroit would make it 5. And indeed, a 9-1 loss. So 5 straight losses. We're down to 12-8-4 on the season. Down to 3rd in the division. And I think now is probably a good idea to check to see what the hell's been going on. First stop, goaltending above all else. Åkerlund down to a 9-13. Jared Van Allen has been brutal. I'm going to take a look at the AHL. Konowalchuk a 9-13, a 9-18 for Fox. I don't want to stunt Konowalchuk's development. Mateo Fox, congratulations. You're getting an opportunity sooner than I think you ever would have expected. Now the question is, the good thing is we have Fane signed, so I don't have to risk losing anybody to waivers. Fox gets the call-up. Fane will be the backup in the AHL. And for the moment, Van Allen's going to be a healthy scratch. So tough break for him, but he has not been good enough. So, Jared, I am sorry. You're losing your backup job to a 77 overall. So, didn't think it would happen in that way, but the franchise player finally made it to the NHL. Shattenkirk and Zieler have been brutal together. McPherson and Francois still have been strong, and that third pairing's getting ripped apart. So, there is an obvious move to be made here. And I think it's got to be Shattenkirk that gets dropped. Question is, between Kolosov and McCult. Let's go for McCult. We'll play McCult, Zieler, Shattenkirk, Kolosov. And McPherson, Francois is going to be our top pairing. Offensively, Ben McCauley still leading the way. 23 or 22 points on the season in 24 games for Ivanov. 20 points, 12 goals for Moreau's, not bad. Ricci only 11 points, but that's not terrible. 15 points for Nylander, 11 for Francois. That third line, Yang's doing fairly well. Bachman looking okay. 7 points for Boro. That fourth line, not exactly getting it going, and that concerns me. 7 points for Boro, but Nylander and Hartnell haven't exactly been doing much. 17 points for Sarno, 20 for Clements, 18 for Svoboda. Melnick, McGavin, Garnett, all call-up options. We can afford to send Hartnell and Marlowe back down. I don't know if that's ideal, but we are 24 games in, and I don't necessarily want to wait too long. I think changes might have to be made in that bottom six. So taking a look here, it's been Viano and Clements leading the way, but I'm not in the mood to call up a 77 overall. He'll probably still, I mean, in fairness, from an offensive standpoint, he's pretty damn good. And Quincy Clements as well, not bad as a playmaker, even though that offensive awareness is relatively low. You also have Melnick, who's currently set up as a two-way, which is fairly accurate, could probably get away with being a playmaker. Kretschmann could be a playmaker or a two-way, probably better suited as a playmaker. And Svoboda, of course, set up as a playmaker. Sarno, as a power forward, could be a playmaker. And Baines probably set up well as a two-way. I'm going to reward Clements and Kretschmann. Or Clements and Sarno, based off of plus-minus more than anything. I'm going to trust Sarno on this one. Clements and Sarno are going to get the call-up. They're going to get the opportunity here. As veterans, Kretschmann's 23 at this point. I'd love for him to make the NHL, but right now we're going to go for the veterans to try and spark something on that fourth line with Nylander. So let's see what we can do here. Hartnell and Marlowe, it was your first opportunity. You will more than likely be back. Clements and Sarno getting called up and getting the opportunity. So let's see. I don't think we'll have to really fix anything. Yeah, just 2 line errors. These are the only 2. The other guys had no special teams time whatsoever. Clements is in, and Sarno is a left wing. No, not Nylander. Sarno's a left wing at the moment. We don't have a natural righty. The best center on the line, very obviously, is Clements. But he also has the best shot. So let's go Nylander, Sarno, Clements as that new third line. So changes to the defense and changes to that fourth line as well, and the backup goaltending situation. Not afraid to pull the trigger on making these changes if they're necessary. Terrell, I believe, is going to have to be the one guy I pull out of this lineup. Jacobs is the only forward that we have to put back in, and we'll double check the defense as well. Mayer needs to take a seat for Fisher. We'll get him into the lineup. And goaltending-wise, Crowder, take a seat for Fane. So I didn't think I'd be making that many changes, but here we are. Them's the breaks. That's how it goes down. You can't lose 9-1 to Detroit without, and losing 5 straight games in the process, without there having to be some changes. So let's sim another month ahead. Again, down to 12, 8, and 4. Let's see if these changes can lead to a more positive outcome. If not, I think obvious choices for other changes would be the defense, giving 2 other guys an option or an opportunity at the NHL level. And again, we have so many forwards as well. Hudson Bufflin, top guy there. Gustavo Haynes, Gustavs Nabokov, Kevin Wolf, Yuka Rinne, and Patrick Trevelyan. So a couple of medium elites. We don't yet have a ton of information, though. So we will in due time, as we, again, lost to Minnesota. We're 1-1-1 through our first 3 games of the month. North Bay still doing pretty damn well, despite the changes. We lose in regulation to Colorado, and this is starting to be a little bit of a nightmare scenario, as we started off so well, and we can just not string wins together. This has been a brutal stretch. So we lose to Vegas as well, and I'm calling a timeout on this. We do beat Philly. Can we beat Arizona? This has been an absolutely brutal stretch for us. We lose 7-0. What is going on with the Golden Seals? I mean, we're still in the playoff hunt, but what a god-awful stretch this team has been on. as of the past month. So Macaulay's a -6, but he's still done fairly well, 24 points in 32 games. Ivanov with 23 points, and Moroz with 22, 14 goals. That top line has slowed down a bit, though. Second line, 13 points for Ricci, 18 for Nylander, 13 for Francois. Something has to change. Something has to change. Yang on 17 points, 16 for Bachman. Boro's still not exactly killing it. Nylander on 6 points. Nothing from Sarno and Clements. They have not been what this team has needed to get going. So, with that in mind, more changes are on the way to the offense. I'm sorry, what was there? 1 point, 2 points between those two new fourth liners? Not good enough. Not good enough. I'm not falling for any the team chemistry. No, we need results. Period. We need results. Melnyk, Svoboda have been two of the top. Vienno and Kretschmann also up there. And it's going to be based off of goals. Vienno and Melnyk, I think, might get, top assist man's been Svoboda. Top goal scorer, in a way, has been Melnyk. Let's do it. Melnyk and Svoboda. Melnyk and Svoboda are on the way up. That's probably not going to be the only change on the offensive side of things as we try to spark something. Nylander as well is in a little bit of trouble. If we lose someone on waivers, I'm not too worried about it. So Melnyk and Svoboda, time will tell if, actually in fairness, Sarno and Clements both have to go through waivers, and both have been claimed. So, I'm not exactly upset about it. Clements claimed by Carolina, Sarno claimed by Winnipeg. It's not a major loss for us. In terms of overall, sure, but I don't care if you're getting it done at the AHL level. I gave you a chance at the NHL level. You weren't getting it done for me. We'll see you later. That's just how it goes. So those two longtime members of the club are gone. Just like that, and I'm not exactly shedding a tear. Not exactly. You could say 8 games isn't enough. I disagree. 8 games is enough to, to put together a little bit of an impact, and there was just nothing there from the two. So Melnyk has pretty good shot accuracy. Nylander again on just 6 points. He's walking a tightrope as well. Is Tomas Nylander. He gets a little bit of a break for the fact that he's had inconsistent line mates, even though he started on the third line, and he put up 38 points last year. Brian Boro is one that I'm very much concerned about. Again, Francois, a little bit concerned about as well. 13 points for Ricci. We're making a change. We're making another change. Again, that top line has slowed down just a bit. We're making a big change. Angelo Bachman, let's see what you got. Let's see what you got. Time for you to prove yourself. We're going Nylander, Ivanov, Yang, Macaulay, Bachman, Moroz. Third line, I'm pretty sure will result in Boro being at center. In fairness, that's not going to work. We might not be able to do it that drastically. 17 points. 22, 18, 13 points. It's a tough call. 13 points, 13 points, 13 points. I don't want to send down Nylander here because it would essentially be the same line. But maybe they find a little bit more consistency on a lower line. Let's do it. Yang, Ivanov, Boro. We're going to give Boro the chance. We're going to give Bachman a major opportunity. Svoboda and Melnyk are in. Defensively, McPherson and Francois have still worked well together. Landon McCult and Kolosov are not ready for prime time. Bottom line, they're not. Changes still have to be made on that front. I'm not going to blame it solely on the goaltending. They could be doing better. Waivers are not in effect. It will be Vorobioff And it will be Ling that get the opportunities here to step up and prove their worth. So let's do it. Down in the AHL, we go best lines. Of course, now we know we have 2 extra spots. I'll double check to see if there's anybody else we can sign to get ice time down in the AHL, although that's unlikely. And now Sean Mayer needs to take a seat for Fisher. And we're still good on that front. Goaltending-wise, again, Crowder takes a seat for Fane. Connor Walchuk, not exactly killing it. Rich Fane doing pretty damn well. Fox, for the record, doing pretty well. Ackerland has slowly declined. So let's see what we got here. Vorobiev will get that spot, and Pat Ling will get that spot. Shattenkirk and Zeeler have been terrible this year. We'll see what happens. Let's go Vorobiev, Zeeler, Shattenkirk, Ling, McPherson, Francois. Let's try it. Again, I'm not against this mixing and matching. We're underperforming as a whole. The goaltending hasn't been good enough. We have players who have been given opportunities in the bottom 6 who have not delivered. The top line stalled out defensively. Again, we always say it, plus minus is not a great stat for real hockey, but in this game, it's one of the few things you have to go off of. It can't get much worse than the slide we've been on anyway. So if you're one that believes in team chemistry, sure, you can say, well, you're messing with it. Obviously, your team's not going to win. But let's be honest, we're not winning games anyway. We have really struggled. We have 2 wins this month. 2 wins. 3 wins in the past month in general. We do beat the Rangers to make it 4. Can we end the month on a high note? We do. So as of January 1st, we're at 16-16-5 after a 7-2-1 start to the season. Not ideal. Obviously, we just made changes. And we've picked up some wins. So let's sim 2 weeks ahead. We play New Jersey, San Jose, Florida, Columbus, Ottawa, and Buffalo in that time. And we'll see if we can start to put some wins together. Credit to North Bay as well. And also, I didn't check for signings. But credit to North Bay, still picking up wins despite their roster being heavily affected by what we've done. It is a shame, too, for the players that we lost. But veterans at that point. And again, I'm not shedding a tear. We cut the dead weight. It was going to happen sooner rather than later. Now, thankfully, we've won 6 straight games. We've won 5 out of our last 6. We did lose in a shootout to Florida, but that is a very strong point streak. 21-16-6 on the season now. Let's just take a look at things. Ben McCauley still leading the team in points. We are currently outside of the playoff structure on goal differential. We're in the weaker division, so we're neck and neck, though, with Edmonton. The LA Kings running away with this division at the moment. So Ben McCauley, 9 goals, 27 assists, 36 points in 43 games. Very happy with that. Angelo Bachman has stepped up, 21 points in 43 games, a plus 15 on the year. And Steven Morose, 30 points, 21 goals, doing what Steven Morose does. Second line, Yang, not terrible with 21 points, but I don't know, it's a tough one to judge. Ivanov, 30 points at a minus 14. Boro on 18 points. You have Ricci on 16 points. Nylander on 20. Francois on 17. And the fourth line, Nylander, just 9 points. Svoboda, 6 points in 11 games. There you go. So see, Svoboda and Melnyk have stepped up. They've been given an opportunity. They are producing. Unfortunately, Nylander, not so much. I'm still a little bit disappointed in Francois as well with just the 17 points. 16 points for Ricci. 18 points for Boro. And then again, Yang was at least over the 20 mark. I'm not necessarily suggesting bumping up Svoboda and Melnyk, but Tomas Nylander's been very ineffective. I don't want to lose him on waivers, but something has to change here. So, 17 points and a minus 10 for Francois. 18 points and a minus 3, 16 points. I think Jean-Francois is going to get dropped. back down to that fourth line. We'll still run Svoboda at center. And I'm going to give Nylander an opportunity just to try and step up. We're not going to have a great center on that line. Yeah, we're going to have to go Nylander. Let's play Boro on the left, Ricci on the right. And as far as everything else is concerned, again, not terrible. 21 points there, 30 points, and 20 points. Perhaps not ideal, but we'll go with that setup there and see what we can do. Defensively, McPherson's up to an 85. He has 12 points and is a plus 15. He and Francois have been our best two defensemen. Vorobyov's been okay, as has Pat Ling. Okay, so Shattenkirk and Zieler still are really letting us down thus far. Goaltending-wise, Ackerlund back up to a 9.11. Mateo Fox, a 9.33. Rising to the occasion. It's a big opportunity for him, a big step up, but he's done fairly well. So let's move on. Roster set, slight changes again to the team, which I know. We're winning and I changed the team, I know. But some warning signs are there of underperforming players. It could backfire. In theory, you reward players who have been doing well, good things can happen. With this game, we end up giving up 10 goals in 2 games because of it, more than likely. So, it is what it is. I don't regret the decision of seeing, hey, this guy's underperforming. I'm going to make changes. Obviously, though, it sucks when, in theory, you put better players in positions to succeed and you immediately drop 3 to 4 games. Winnipeg's a win, thank God. So only 3 in a row. I don't necessarily regret it. I know that's the most me thing to have ever been done is, oh my God, we're winning, let me change something. I know, and some people are going to be very pissed about that. I would rather lose after putting successful players or performing players into a better position. I just would. Is that wrong of me? Is that stubborn of me? Probably. But that's the only legitimate answer I have for you. I would rather put somebody else who's actually performing into a better position to succeed. And if the team's worse off because of it, so be it. But again, that's what this season's been. I talked about that at the start of the episode. I warned you that more than likely there would have been moves made, that we would see changes to player types, to line combinations, to personnel in general. Hell, we've lost 2 players to waivers already. So it was going to be that type of episode with the amount of options we had. And so far, it's lived up to that hype. As we're looking for our 30th win of the season, we beat Chicago. We're now 29-21-7. Those overtime losses could prove to be crucial. We pick up our 30th win of the year against St. Louis. And surprise, surprise, it's going to be another race to the finish, because when is it not? So we get a 1-0 shootout win over Colorado. 31 wins now. North Bay on 35. I can't believe how well they are doing. Despite the changes, you factor in that they've lost 279-plus players to waivers, essentially. Very interesting to see how strong they've been, despite them perhaps being more affected by the changes than the main roster. So we beat Boston 4-2. 3 games left in the month. Can we get 35 wins? Odds are no, but time will tell. Playing Vegas, they don't have the best record. It's taken forever. Is it going to be the alert about the trade block? Probably. 5-3 loss to Vegas guarantees that we will not pick up our 35th win before March 1st. We do beat Philly 4-3 in a huge 7-0 victory over Arizona to end the month of February. 34-22-7. It's been a tumultuous season, but we're back on the right track. North Bay as well going to be fishing for their 40th win of the season. You see, because they're narwhals fishing. Well, let's wait for the day to get here, and we'll take a look at the squad, where we are in the standings. We are currently in second in the division, but look at the gap between Los Angeles and us. As it is, look at the gap between us and Edmonton. We're 8 points clear. So right now, we are in the driver's seat to have home ice advantage in the first round at the very least. But Edmonton, Anaheim, San Jose, Vegas, even Calgary, they are very much in the race. Ben McCauley has already surpassed his point total from last year. I believe he had 51 points. He's leading the way with 56 this season, 19 goals, 37 assists. Angelo Bachmann has done very well after working his way up to the top line. 27 assists, 7 goals on the season, good for 34 points. Very happy with that. And Steven Morose, again, doing what Steven Morose does. 34 goals with 19 games remaining. A strong return to form from him. He should hit 40 goals again, which is nuts. Kim Nylander has never or hasn't yet replicated what he did a few seasons ago, on pace to hit 40 points again. But that is disappointing because we banked on Kim Nylander being a face for this team, and I don't know what's happened, unfortunately. You have Sergei Ivanov, 46 points on the year. Should he still be the top-line center? Probably. He still has the majority of power play time. Henry Yang, 28 points. Again, hit 46 last year on the third line, so I can't say that I'm overly impressed. Brian Boro, 25 points on the season. Hit 43 last year. Thomas Nylander up to 14 points, and Ralph Ricci with 29. You have Melnick, who's done okay. There's at least some stability there, 11 points in 31 games. Same for Svoboda. Jean-Francois has found his game a little bit, but is he up to that 40 to 50 point total that he's been at in the past? Not exactly. It's an interesting call, though. Just, I guess, in general, as far as what to do. I'm not gonna lie. I'm very tempted to make changes. I'm gonna hold off because I know I'm gonna drive some people crazy, and we've been winning quite a few of our games, but I see some warning signs, some players who probably don't deserve time. And one of those guys in particular is Nylander, who I'm kind of desperate to get out of this lineup, but let's be honest, I don't want to lose him on waivers. I don't want to lose him on waivers, even though he kind of deserves to be lost on waivers. For the record, as far as signing guys to fill out the AHL roster, at this point, who cares? We'll sign them next year. It's okay with us having the AHL contracted guys be the ones filling out the roster. We are still winning games, searching for our 40th win, up to 8 overtime losses on the season, which is very good for us. Obviously going to help out with the point total. As long as we don't go on a massive losing streak here at the end of the season, we should be fine. And the urge to edit the lines should be pushed to the back burner for now. 6-4 loss against Columbus doesn't help. But in terms of how we started this episode with questions of what this team should look like, what are the line combinations, what are the player types, yeah, that is still the same feeling. And I can't say that it's an optimistic feeling. It is frustrating that we have guys like Kim Nylander, who looked to have such a promising future, now struggling to produce at a second-line level, let alone a top-line level. So we hit 43 wins on the year, 43, 25, and 10 as of April 1st. North Bay probably going to win their division title. We are, without a doubt, in the playoffs. We are, without a doubt, the second seed. We know we're back in the postseason. It's just a matter of whether or not it's Anaheim or San Jose. It's a guarantee we are playoff bound yet again. Just from there, what's it going to be? As North Bay might not take that division title, but they're still up there. They're still competitive. So that's pretty solid. We do lose in overtime to Washington, which is not a big deal. We play Edmonton, which, I believe their playoff hopes are already crushed, and they do pick up a win. They might be able to make it. The wild card's going to the Central, though, so it's third seed or bust for them. Let's play Tampa. Let's lose to Tampa. 4-2-4 in our last 10. We need a win here against Montreal. We are playing Anaheim in the first round. That is confirmed. Can we at least pick up a little bit of momentum? Yes, we can. So we finished this season at a fairly decent 44, 26, and 12. We started off very well. There was a struggle about 2 quarters of the way through. Towards that, as we begin the back half, that back stretch of the season, did very well to turn things around. At the end, we struggled a little bit, but 100 points on the year, I'm not necessarily complaining. Now, in terms of goals for, we weren't necessarily up there. Mid-table, goals against at a 2.67. Same thing, mid-table, so not tremendously inspiring. Our power play percentage also looks to be mid-table. Our penalty kill percentage was mid-table. We are an average team. That's all there is to it. We are an average team. We score an average amount of goals. We give up an average amount of goals. We have an average power play. We have an average penalty kill. Is that where I wanted us to be right now? Not quite, but it's better than the alternative. So in terms of what the hell this team does or what the hell this team looks like in the playoffs, I don't know. I genuinely don't. We can take a look at the squad. I think first and foremost, let's start off with goaltending, right? Åkerlund, 919 save percentage. He's the guy, no doubt about it. I mean, he is our best hope to win. Mateo Fox did not do poorly for a goaltender of his caliber. Did much better than Van Allen with 2 extra games played. So in terms of who the backup is, I don't think it necessarily matters. We'll probably give it back to Van Allen and drop Fox down to the AHL. Connor Walchuk didn't exactly kill it either. Fane did fairly well with his opportunity as the backup. So Åkerlund and Van Allen, probably the 1-2 punch in the playoffs. Defensively, big story this season, Rene Francois, a plus 30, a 54-point season, which is a career high. He had 2 back-to-back 40-point seasons. There's no doubt he is our best defenseman from a point-producing standpoint, which should not be surprising. And heading into the playoffs, he should have the top unit minutes on both just regular play and the power play. Andrew Zieler still put up 36 points, but was a minus 16. Very disappointing. Gonna take him off of that top power play unit, and he's second pairing at best. You had Larry McPherson as a rookie, 15 points and a plus 27. So no doubt in my mind, top pairing heading into the playoffs, McPherson and Francois. They're probably also the top power play unit. Shattenkirk, 15 points and a minus 8. So from a plus-minus standpoint, he turned things around, but still not an amazing season for him. So again, at best, Shattenkirk and Zieler, second pairing. Vorobiev, 6 points and a minus 1 since we called him up. Pat Ling, 5 points and a plus 12. So hard to argue that Pat Ling doesn't deserve to have a spot here for the playoffs. He's up to a 79. Vorobiev's a 79 as well. Down in the AHL, McCult did much better. He's just much better suited for the AHL right now. At the NHL level, 4 points in 32 games. AHL level, 23 points in 50 games. So he's just not ready for the NHL. And someone like Jack Nicholson, which is still amazing, or Sergei Nichushkin. Nichushkin went from, I believe, a 78 to an 81. Hello. 20 points in his rookie season. That could be the answer right there. Because we sent down Kolosov, who again, much better suited for the AHL right now. 16 points in 50 games, but 1 point in 32 games and a minus 16 at the NHL level. I think that's the big decision. Is do we call up Sergei Nichushkin for someone like Vorobiev? I think Pat Ling's safe, though. Let me know. My opinion, Pat Ling stays. I think Vorobiev goes down for Nichushkin. Or Vorobiev stays. One or the other, but we do know that Nichushkin's going to be ready next season. And then what do we do for Zieler and Shattenkirk after disappointing years? Then we get to the forwards, where there's going to be a lot more controversy. Ben McCauley called him out at the start of this episode. Career year, 71 points, great stuff. Ivanov, still capable of a near 70-point season. Moroz, just shy of 40, cooled off at the end of the year, but still 39 goals, 59 points. I'm not complaining. Kim Nylander, 46 points is okay. But for somebody who hit 76, it is disappointing. It's very disappointing. So, don't know what to do with him exactly. Angela Bachman up to 42 points, climbed his way up the depth chart. Should definitely be in the top 6, I would say, to start the playoffs. Ralph Ricci took the step up in overall, from a fourth liner to a second liner, but only 37 points this year. Same for Jean-Francois, who we know is capable of more. 50-point seasons under his belt, or at least a 50-point season. So a little bit disappointing there. Henry Yang, perhaps the most disappointing player of the season, though. 46 points last year, only 35 points this year. Pretty disappointing. Same for Boro, who had a great season last year on that third line of 43 points. He was back down to 32. You had Milan Svoboda, who, unlike others that had the same opportunity, 20 points in 50 games. Great work. He has earned a spot for the playoffs. Thomas Nylander, though, 19 points in 82 games. He's someone who should be better. He is someone who should be better. 40 points last year. Probably still deserves a spot for the playoffs, but very disappointing. And Melnyk, same thing as Svoboda. 18 points in 50 games. He has earned a spot for this playoff run. So the big thing here offensively, Nylander, Boro, and Yang. I mean, Yang and Boro were still okay, but disappointing compared to what they had been capable of. Francois and Ricci, not quite what we wanted from them. Nylander struggling a bit. Obvious deficiencies in terms of the AHL. Kretschmann led the way. You also had guys like Braden Baines and Stefan Viano do quite well throughout the season. Pete Garnett is another guy who had a decent season that didn't get the opportunity to be called up quite yet. And of course, you had guys like Marlowe and Hartnell, who were very clearly still better suited for the AHL as opposed to the NHL. So that is your full look at this team, at what this season was. We know we're playing Anaheim in the first round. That is very much confirmed. But what is not confirmed, the personnel we are using, the line combinations we're using, that is very much up in the air. Needless to say, I want your input before we get this series underway. We have earned home ice advantage, even if it was a bit of a struggle. This division was a tad bit weak, and maybe we can take advantage of that. The one final thing I want to look at here, though, and mainly because we've seen this happen in the Vegas series, is there one player who's worth signing for the playoffs? The answer is no. I was hoping Inglis would have taken a big step up. He did not, so there's no additional help coming our way. The roster that we have is the roster that we have. We just, yet again, need to find the right pieces for the right spots. We'll see if we can do that. Next episode, we take on Anaheim in the first round. Thank you guys for watching. It is appreciated. You know the deal with supporting the video on the channel and all that fun stuff. I'll talk to you next time. Until then, have a good one. This should be going up on the 31st, in which case, thanks for watching, and happy goddamn New Year.